Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jill Miller. This is indie author Jill, and I read indie author books and tell you about them so you know where to buy them and what's good. This week we're doing Leafdust and Deadwood, and this is a very short book. It's the prequel to the Garden Night series, which I definitely want to read more of. This is the prequel, the actual series. The books are thicker. This is only 58 pages. The books are like 300 pages. So a nice, good story to sink your teeth into once you get into the actual series. What I liked about this right away is it was such a cozy read. This is, by the way, I forgot to mention the author. This is written by Justine Greer. My initial thoughts, like I said, was it's a lovely cozy book. It's the kind of book that you want to just curl up on the couch with a plate of cookies and a hot cocoa by a fireside and just enjoy reading the book. And you just want to snuggle in and read it. It's a very cozy read. It's a very easy read as far as, like I said, it's only 58 pages. The writing style is so eloquent. It's very reminiscent of Arthur Conan Doyle's style, but while he has an Arthur Conan Doyle's style, he very much has his own voice. Justine Greer does. And for those of you who are like, who the heck is Arthur Conan Doyle? First of all, how dare you? He's the writer of the Sherlock Holmes series. So, but it was a nice, you immediately get thrown into a forest, and it's a really nice, beautiful forest. It's a beautiful autumn day, and Derry is a gardener. He calls himself the gardener. And he's traveled around the world, and he's found a place called Havendale. Haverdale. And he likes the town. It's one of those small, quiet towns that for the most part, the rest of the world has forgotten, with the exception of once a year the king sends a messenger to remind them to pay their taxes, and then the messenger gives them news of the rest of the world and stays for a couple of drinks. And Derry, the main character, has found that of all the places he's traveled around, he likes this place, and there's a forest, and then there's a lake in the forest, and in the middle of the lake is an island. And on the island is, at the top of the hill on the island is a little cabin. And it was already there, and it was kind of abandoned by a previous caretaker, so Derry just kind of takes it over. And he has a dog, Barrow, that he has befriended, a very, very large, shaggy dog that's just a big boofer boy. And he's just living his life in the woods, and for the most part he stays in the forest, and he tends to the trees. He makes sure that there's like a fungus of sort, a whisker mold. That's where we find him at first, is when he's on a tree pulling whisker mold off of a tree that is trying to kill the tree. And but he's very gentle with both, because he doesn't want to damage the whisker mold, but he also doesn't want to hurt the tree. So he's very respectful of the nature around him, and he recognizes the appropriate uses for whisker mold, that it is a beneficial thing that that lives in the forest, that he can cultivate. That, okay, yes, you do not belong in this tree, because this tree, you're going to hurt this tree if you do, but I also don't want you to kill the tree, but I also want you so that I can use your properties and sell it. He boils it, I guess, in the story, and takes it to the apothecary. there's no bad guy in this, which at first I was like, well, how interesting can this be if there's no villain, really? You know, but it has the same type of villain as Little Shop of Horrors does. The villain isn't a person, it's a plant. And he finds this like tendril frond thing, and he takes a clipping of it and he takes it home and he plants it in a pot so that he can examine it, because he's very interested in nature and plants and learning as much as he can about the plants. And he eats his soup and he goes to bed and he wakes up and it's a massive, it has grown 20 times its size. It is massive and taking over his house already. So he's like, that's not good, you know? And it's so interesting that he's not a panicker. Anything he runs into, even when he does panic, he has a slight panic and then immediately logic gets in, and I wish I had that level of clear-headedness that he has, because I envy his clear-headedness in this story. He is so good at immediately, I'm gonna do this. Wait, no, let's think about this, you know? So like at one point when he sees it in the clearing and it's overtaking the clearing, his first thought is burn the whole clearing. And I'm like, yes, that is a great idea. I support that. And he's like, no, let's be rational about this. There is a better way, a more meticulous way of doing this. And I love the way he kind of analyzes, he steps back and just kind of analyzes this situation. He's like, okay, I should tell somebody about this, but I don't know who. I could tell the king, but he's like miles away. By the time I get a letter to him, it could be too late. And even if I could get a letter to him in time, how do I word it without it sounding like I've been in the woods too long and I've lost my mind? Okay, never mind, I'm just going to take care of it. And he does. And you get to meet some other characters. Like I said, it's only 58 pages, and it's not just him in the woods with his dog Barrow. He goes into town. You get to meet the blacksmith, and you get to meet, I don't know what Jaslyn is, but what her role is, but she is a friend of his. You get to meet the apothecary. You get to kind of see how Derry relates to the people in town. There's just enough of the story. You have everything you need for the story and nothing extra, and you don't feel like you're being robbed for not having the extra stuff. There's just enough little bits of extra things that you don't feel like you're missing anything. There's the Harvest Night party coming, and he is running around trying to, everybody keeps telling him, hey, you're coming to Harvest Night, you're coming to Harvest Night Festival, you're coming to the festival, you're going to drink, you're going to dance, you're going to sing. And he's like, I will drink, I will sing, or I will drink and I will dance, but I will not sing. I like the people of this town way too much to trouble them with my singing. And boy, do I relate to that. I resonate so hard. It's like, I like people too much to sing. My husband, for some reason, doesn't mind my singing, so I'll sing for him. I'll sing around him. But even he will point out that I'm not great at it. I did sing. I was singing in the kitchen while I was cooking, and he came in and I said, "Is my singing bothering you? Is it too bad?" And he's like, "There's definitely joy in the singing." Okay. That's like going to a restaurant and somebody saying, "Oh, well, how was the food?" Well, the music was nice. The atmosphere was nice. Okay, but how was the food? It was clean. The tables in the restaurant was clean. You know. So yeah, not a great singing voice. for me or Derry, apparently. But apparently he does dance well, because when he is dancing, they keep dragging him out on the dance floor to dance. Jaslyn keeps dragging him out to dance some more. So, like I said, it was just such a cozy book, and I loved it. It was so nice. It's just a very pleasant read. Once I got done with it and I sat there thinking about it, I realized this is a really good 58-page analogy of someone dealing with depression. And I'm not saying Justine Greer is depressed or that Derry is depressed, but there's so many elements to it that is very reminiscent. I myself struggle with depression, and you have Derry, who is kind of isolating himself from the rest of the town, and he's dealing with this problem. These vines are like, if the forest was his mind, and these tendrils were the depression. They keep creeping out, and they're sucking the life out of owls and mice and trees in the forest, and they're just killing all the things that are beautiful about the forest, in the same way that depression tries to cloud over and kill all the good things about the human mind, and what makes us great. And he doesn't tell anybody about it, because anytime he does think to tell somebody, he's like, they're in such a good mood. Everybody's in a festive attitude, and I don't want to bring them down by worrying them about something that may not yet affect them, or isn't going to, it may not affect them at all. And he realizes that if he doesn't get it under control, it will affect the town. So to kind of protect the people around him, he's dealing with it on his own. And he even at one point says, I don't want to deal with this on my own. But he doesn't really feel like he has anybody else he can go to, because who's going to listen to him? And how do you, if you have mental illness or you are neurodivergent, how do you explain your neurodivergence to someone who's neurotypical? How do you explain your struggles with depression to somebody else who doesn't deal with depression, or someone who doesn't deal with depression in the same way you deal with it? Because that's the one thing that I think it gets missing from the mental illness conversations, is someone says, well, I deal with depression. Someone's like, oh, well, I do deal with it too. You just have to do this. What if it's not the same kind of depression? Or what if it is affecting you differently than it's affecting this person? You know, and Derry, rather than being he doesn't want to burden the townspeople who are having such a great time and are in such a great mood with this just yet. So he decides he's going to deal with it on his own, even though he really doesn't want to. And it's the same way with people who have struggled with depression. They see they're having a hard time and they're struggling. And then somebody asks them, hey, how are you doing? And what's going on with you? What's been going on? And you see this person that they're lit up and they're having a great time, and you're at a party or whatever, or you're at a festival, and you're like, I don't want to burden this person. So you just say, I'm fine. I'm fine. Oh, it's all right, you know. And they can tell you're not fine, but they also don't want to press you for it. Or sometimes they don't know that you're not fine. They just take it at face value that, oh, yeah, well, she said she's fine. Let's go party, you know. And it can be hard, you know, for someone who is dealing with depression and feels like they've got to deal with it on their own. And there's a moment where there is kind of Derry goes to an apothecary, and he says, I need this stuff. And the apothecary says, okay, here's your things. And then he goes back and he does some more research, and he says, okay, I need these things. And she's like, okay, I can give you some of this stuff now, the rest is going to have to wait. And he's like, that's fine. And he goes back and he does more research, and he comes back and he says, okay, now I need these things. And finally the apothecarian looks at it and says, what's going on? Because like she's starting to realize something's not right. And this is very reminiscent of therapy. the first time you go to therapy, you just kind of tell the therapist about you and yourself, and the therapist just listens. Okay. The second time you come back and you kind of rehash that and add a little bit more, and then the third time you come back, then you really start the treatment. Then the therapist is like starting to get enough data about you and say, okay, let's try something. Let's do this, you know. And the therapist starts to give you the tools you need to deal with your depression or your mental illness or your PTSD or your trauma or whatever it is that you're dealing with. They start to give you the tools you need. And that's what happens with Derry. Eventually he has the tools he needs to deal with this tendril, and he takes the powders and the oils and the liquids and all these different things that make the talisman that he needs and the fire that he needs to take care of the tendrils, and he deals with it. It's not a perfect solution. It's never a perfect solution. But it does the job for now. It's an acceptable temporary solution to the problem, and it's good enough for now. That's why there has to be a chronicle, because depression doesn't end. It doesn't just go away. You don't get cured, you get treated. And that's what Derry is doing. He is treating the problem of these fronds to keep them from hurting the town. And it's such a great way to understand mental illness. He does go to the harvest party, but he's late. And his friends give him a hard time for being late. But they don't know what he went through to get to the party. What battles he had to fight just to be there. And again, it's so reminiscent of the mental illness hurdles that some of us who deal with depression or trauma or whatever, the things that we have to, the internal battles that we have to fight in order to get to church, to the party, to the family holiday get-together, to the family reunion, to the cookout, to the park with friends, to the pool party. Whatever it is, whatever social engagement that our friends are trying to get us to go to, we know they mean well. We know they want to include us. We know that we will be welcome. But there is a battle we have to fight to get there. And the people who don't deal with depression, and sometimes even the people who do deal with mental illness, don't really understand the battle that somebody else had to go through. They have their own battle to worry about, you know. So yeah, if you have mental illness, if you suffer from any of the mental illnesses, the PTSD, the trauma, depression, whatever. I know that I'm missing so many different mental illnesses, and I'm not trying to dismiss anybody. If you suffer from some kind of mental illness and you want a book that makes you feel seen and heard, this is a book for you. If you are someone who doesn't deal with mental illness, but you love or care about somebody who does, and you want to try to understand, this is a good book. If you just want a really cozy book that's fun to read and that is a very pleasant read, buy this book. This is a great book. This is definitely something, this is another one I would give to a child, a reading child, that they would love it. Because who doesn't want to fight an evil plant that's trying to kill owls and mice? That's probably not what kids are looking for these days, but they would still probably enjoy the read. Yeah, buy the book. It's great. I liked it. I really liked it. Like I said, it gave a lot of cozy vibes, and even Barrow the dog has his own part in the mental health game. Barrow is like I said, he's a big, hairy, floofy, boofy boy, and he represents the best part of us. So if Derry is the person suffering from mental health and his from mental illness, and his forest is his mind, and the tendrils are the depression, Barrow is the part of his mind that reminds him that he is a good person, and he is worth loving, and he is worthy of love, and he's all the best parts of the human mind and the human spirit. So yeah, it's a great book. I'd love it. I buy it. If you want your own copy, the links are in the description below. If you want a copy of one of my books and you'd like to support me as an indie author, my books will be linked down in the description below as well. If you are an indie author and would like to have your book considered for a review on this channel, you can send it to Jill Miller at P.O. Box 40, Limestone, Tennessee 37681. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified of our next video, and have a great day.